Hey, everybody. You are watching the Shit Talking Podcast. I'm your host, Christina.
And I am your other host, Robin, because you get multiple hosts. This is like a lot of bang for your buck you get here.
Yes, we're co-hosts. I don't know why we can't see our names up here. Whoops, I got rid of you for a second. Sorry about that, Robin.
I don't know.
I don't
They
know.
just need to know who we are because that's just what it is. I don't know, guys. If you don't know who we are by now, then welcome.
Yeah.
I'm Robin. That's Christina. Here we go.
So here we go. So it's Wednesday. I always feel a little weird when I start out a week that's doesn't start on a Monday. Do you?
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what day it is. As I was saying to Christina before we went live, I gave zero effort to my day today. Like I showed up to work in legit gym clothes. Like I'm wearing leggings. I told her I have like a zip up hoodie. I'm wearing like a wife beater. I just like didn't care at all. And usually I take a lot of care into what I wear to work. But I said, what's the point of owning your own business if you can't show up in legit gym clothes when you want to?
Well, they're very fancy gym clothes because they don't look like you're in gym clothes.
I am. And I was super excited to go to work like this because my work colleagues seem to think that I don't know how to dress down. They're like, you never dress down. They said that they believe I go like to the grocery store in heels, which I do not. I absolutely do not.
You would fit in Europe.
Well, I did love European fashion for that reason. Just like watching people walk the streets, and I felt like they were so fashionable just to go to the bread shop and grab a baguette. And I was like, I wish that in America sometimes that we dressed like that it wasn't like pajama pants or, there was a recent, I don't know if it's like a wave on the internet, but apparently the actress Monique, for those of you who know her, like did this kind of like rant about, women going out in like their like sleep bonnets. And everybody's like, how dare she judge women for going out in sleep bonnets? And meanwhile in my head, I'm kind of like, well, why the fuck are you going out in a sleep bonnet? Like, do you have like literally no respect for your appearance that you're just walking out of the house? Like, I would never leave the house in pajama pants. Even in college when that was like the thing to do.
Yeah.
Like you go to class in like pajama pants and Adidas slides and socks. I would never leave like that. Like it's not my way,
Well, I mean, I think you do have to be mindful that even though be lovely if we lived in a society where people aren't judgy, even if you're not judgy per se, we still make judgments all the time about people, all constantly about the way they dress or the way they carry themselves or the way they speak or what kind of car they drive, what they do for a living. If they're married or not, all kinds of things. We're always making these little subconscious judgments about people. So I sort of agree with you. Why shouldn't you at least look like you put a little bit of effort into it?
Well, there are definitely some people who would say, why should you have to? Like, why does it matter to you what other people think about you? And I don't know if it matters to me so much what other people think about me, but I definitely think that my appearance weighs on how I feel about myself. Like, I think if I feel like, I don't know, if I feel like sloppy, if I feel like a slob, I think I kind of like live my day like a slob. Like, even when I got to work today, because I was so comfortable, it took me so long to like ramp up. Like, like just to get into the productivity of the day. Cause I was just kind of like, I felt like it was a weekend. Like I was just like, hey, I'm here. I'm sitting at my desk. I'm very loungy. Like, I just feel like when I'm wearing more structured clothing, like when I'm dressed like I'm in an office, I'm a little bit more like, you're in the office. Like, get your stuff done. Like, you're here.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I'm also crazy. And I also am a little judgy, which I think judgy kind of goes into what we're talking about today. Because apparently your girl, Chrissy Teigen, was doing a little judginess in her past life before she was the saved and woke person that she is right now. So, for those of you who know our topic, we're talking about the Chrissy Teigen, Candace Owens battle. Is it Owens? Owens, right? So I'm going to let Christina, not Chrissy, I'm going to let Christina explain it, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. When she said, why don't we talk about the Chrissy Teigen, Candace Owens battle? I was like, what is that? Like, I had no idea there was a battle, because I am so self-absorbed that I don't pay any attention to what anybody else is doing. So you tell me, or tell us, what is this battle? And then we're going to talk some shit about it.
So I'll start off by saying that I've been following Chrissy for a while now. I like her. You know, I think she's cool. She shares a lot about her family and her kids and stuff on social media, and it's fun to look at. Candace Owens, I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but I'm not a hater either. She's, you know, she can be pretty extreme, you know, like she can have some extreme opinions, which she has absolutely no problem expressing. And she's extremely opinionated, and she can be very aggressive towards people. Like if she doesn't like you, she is coming at you. And it's not just Chrissy. It's like she's done this with other people too. So when this Chrissy thing started coming up, I saw Candace coming up in my feed with this tirade about Chrissy and how Chrissy 10 years ago wrote some inflammatory things, like offensive things to other people that I totally agree were inappropriate, were abusive, and absolutely not to be condoned at all. So what she did is, apparently she told this other a YouTuber, I don't even know who these people are, I don't even remember her name, but some other YouTuber who I think was under 18, something like, you should go kill yourself.
I think she was 16 at the time.
Yeah. Which is like horrible, you know, deplorable. I totally agree. It's awful. But that said, I don't want to say but, because people always say that when you say but, it negates the rest of the prior part of the sentence. Did you say that? Did you tell me that?
I don't think I said that. I don't know. But I mean, I can understand why people would say that. Okay.
So I'm not going to say but. You know, what Chrissy did was wrong. Okay? Get it. Period. End of sentence. So now Candace, I don't know what triggered this now, but now Candace she has been putting one post after another. Like, it has become her job to rid the world of Chrissy Teigen. And she's succeeding, because Chrissy hasn't posted anything on social media in several weeks. She's sort of gone into hiding. She did post a public apology to this YouTuber. I think her last name is
something Stoddard, right? Yeah.
And other than that, you haven't heard from her, and she got canceled from several lucrative collaborations with Bloomingdale's, Target, Macy's. If there were other ones, I haven't even heard of those yet, but I'm sure she has lost a lot of money, and I think maybe she lost a lot of followers too. It remains to be seen whether Chrissy will recover from this. We'll see. But what struck me about it, and the reason I feel like I want to have a conversation about it, is because it just seems so over the top. One, because it did happen like 10 years ago. It's like, why are we bringing something up now that she did? It's not like she murdered somebody.
So is it because of the offense? Because, I mean, we have to look at it as, what is the statute of limitations, really, when it comes to these things? Because it was like 10 years ago. She said at the time she was 26 years old. I think we've all made some poor choices at 26 years old. We've all said some things we probably shouldn't have said. I don't know if Chrissy is like, you know, I am a recovered mean girl kind of thing. Like, I kind of felt like that's where she was going with, I said some bad stuff. I said things I shouldn't have said. I made fun of people in ways I shouldn't have. And I've grown since then, and that was completely and 100% wrong. But I think that what it it goes into what I thought was interesting as I looked into all of this, is we talked about how this feeds into cancel culture, right? That essentially Candace Owens is like, why should this woman be getting any money when she says these horrible things, telling people to go kill themselves? Apparently, not only did she say this publicly, it was alleged that Chrissy sent this, this other person. I wish I remembered her first name because I don't want to just call her Stoddard. And I also read somewhere, I don't know who any of these people are, but, I know who Chrissy is and I know who Candace is. I don't know who the Stoddard person is. So if anybody does know who that name is, if you could let us know.
Courtney, I think it's Courtney Stoddard.
And I also read somewhere that an article's written that she's been misgendered, that Courtney goes by they and not she, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up because I want to make sure I'm getting her name right.
Correct. And also how I'm going to go with they for now until you tell me otherwise. They would like to be addressed. But that Chrissy also sent a private message to Courtney basically saying, go kill yourself. So not even just like, haha, like public bullying. Look at me. I'm so pretty and I'm a model and I'm mean, and just go kill yourself. What I think is that Chrissy also privately would like DM her or DM them, if you can let me know which one I should be using, and say like, go kill yourself. You should just go to sleep forever. Just go commit suicide. Like really mean shit.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree. I mean, what she said was it was pretty mean. It was definitely over the top. But when Candace started doing all this stuff, I just thought, like, isn't this a little over the top? Like, she was basically accusing Chrissy of being a mean girl. But isn't Candace being a mean girl?
Well, I have to say this under a couple of umbrellas. I am not a Candace Owens fan. So that's number one. So I absolutely think she's being hypocritical, especially since she's been so outspoken against cancel culture in the past, of how wrong it is. And why are we canceling people because of the things that they've said or they've done in the past? And who are we? And we're not the morality police. And it's funny that Steve brings up this point, because I was going to say the same thing about a statute of limitations. Like, why is it not okay to bring up Chrissy's past, but it's okay to bring up Justice Kavanaugh's past? Or even we look at the whole Me Too movement, things that have happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like, that someone engaged in, bad behavior, maybe when they were young and maybe when they didn't know better. But we always say, well, too bad, so sad. I don't care that you were 18 at the time or 19 at the time or 24 at the time. You did some bad shit and you should pay for that bad shit.
Well, and the obvious difference to me between Justice Kavanaugh and Chrissy Teigen is that he still got the job.
Yeah.
Chrissy has been canceled from 3 different deals.
Well, but what about other people?
Chrissy had consequences. She has consequences because of her actions that were brought up. Kavanaugh really didn't, because he's still.
Well, what about like your Matt Lauers? I don't know how long ago that was, or and I'm going to be honest, I don't know if Matt Lauer's behavior was a year before he was canceled or 10 years. I don't really remember. I know that in Catch and Kill, I think it goes into that a little bit, but I don't think they go into it so much because it's not really about Matt Lauer. But there are certainly people that have engaged in behavior, years before it came out, and they are held to task. I personally would say, to answer that question too about Justice Kavanaugh, is I also think that his, position and his role in our American fabric is much more important than that of one Chrissy Teigen. That's part of the reason why I think that, maybe when we're dealing with celebrities that don't so much touch on, our constitutional freedoms, that, I might give them a little bit more of a pass on bad behavior than I would someone who's supposed to uphold, societal values and mores. But I guess what it comes down to is I kind of agree that Candace is being hypocritical. I also look at her as a shock jock. I look at her as, I'm going to say whatever I think is shocking and is going to get attention and is going to make people's jaws drop because that's my shtick. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to go out and say things about people.
But this goes to the cancel culture issue just in general, not specifically to Chrissy and Candace, but that seems to be that's the world we live in now. Is all you have to do is accuse somebody of something, and there are real consequences for it, whether there should be or not, especially when it comes to these endorsement deals, like
right.
Similar to what Chrissy has, is because now there's this like mini scandal around Chrissy. None of these big companies like Bloomingdale's and Target want anything to do with her right now. Just because of how it might affect their branding, because they don't want to get caught up in it.
Yes, and I do think that's why there is such a pushback now on the whole cancel culture, concept. I can't say this many C's at the same time. I'm going to have to come up with something else, but. Because I think that people are now saying it has gotten so out of control that companies, like one bad thing that you say, and we can't be affiliated with you because, society will shun us if we have any sort of affiliation with somebody who expresses an idea. And shouldn't we be permitted in society to express certain ideas or to disagree with people or to have opinions? I guess what my point is I may not agree with what you say, and I should be able to make that choice versus Target making the choice for me. So if Target says, I'm not going to have this brand available to you because we don't believe in what this person says, there are certainly plenty of brands I don't shop because I don't agree with them, for whatever reason, but I'm still given the choice.
Yeah. And I just know that eventually there's going to be something that Candace has said or done in her past that's going to come out, because we've all done and said stupid shit. I'm sure we could all go back and look at something we did or said 10 years ago that was offensive and cringe that we ever said or did that. But I certainly wouldn't want my whole career and my livelihood today to be completely ruined because of that. I mean, we're not talking about, and I guess I don't want to get into a place where we draw the line in the sand. Like, well, what would be considered so bad that if you did it 10 years ago, it should affect you today? I don't know. I don't know where the line in the sand is. I mean, certainly there are some things that are so egregious that.
Like murder.
Yeah, OJ is doing okay, though.
Is he though? Isn't he still in jail?
No, I don't think so. I think he's got some sort of show on YouTube or someplace. And I only know this because Howard Stern makes fun of him, and he was playing some clips from the show, and he was offering his opinion about various, the cultural events, which was sort of hysterical.
Well, what's funny is that we talk about the fact that cancel culture is now like the American way, but if you will allow me a moment, Christina, this is going to surprise you.
You did research.
I did. I did some research on cancel culture, and apparently it first surfaced in China. It was a very Eastern thing, and it was actually referred to in Chinese slang as Renru Shaosu.
Did anybody think that she would be speaking Chinese today?
Why wouldn't I? Come on. So it was very funny because the New York Times ran an article in 2010 about this Chinese concept, right? Of basically going online and digging so far into, people's past and what they've said and what they've done, and kind of making sure that it was on board with whatever societal norms they thought should happen. And actually, that Chinese phrase literally translates into human flesh search. Ooh. Which is they're actually going and kind of like the pound of flesh, right? Like they're going in to look at these things. And one of the comments on this 2010 Times article that talked about this Chinese thing that they were doing actually said, I'm surprised by the intensity of the searches, and I think that this is an Eastern trait. Most people in the West can't be bothered. We are too individualistic and well served by existing mechanisms. So people actually thought like, this would never happen here because we just don't care enough about digging into other people's pasts and what they've said and what they've done and what side they stand on. And that now this is such a American thing. This cancel culture is an American thing that everybody thought like, that's like an Eastern trait where they care about what people say about things. Like, I thought it was really interesting that 10 years later, this is very entrenched in our culture of us digging into people's past and it being very important what you did or said in your past and whether or not we're going to accept you morally and socially now.
Well, do you think it's because those things still say something about you? Because something we've talked about is, do people really change? I mean, they do and they don't. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for me to explain that, but I do think that we evolve, we mature. I mean, certainly I'm not the same person that I was when I was 20. I'm more mature. I've had more life experience. I think I'm more patient than I used to be. I'm more accepting of other people and, people who have difference in opinion. And I have, my outlook on a lot of things has changed just with maturity, but probably my real core values aren't changed. Like the real core of who I am isn't different.
But yes, but like, let's say I look at Chrissy, for example, and I say, these were things that she said at 26 years old. And certainly I have heard the terminology among teenagers of go kill yourself. I've certainly heard this. She didn't make this up. You know what I mean? I always think it's an incredibly inflammatory thing to say, but I definitely know that this is something that young people say. I don't know if they say it so much now, but I know that there was definitely a period of time where, like, it was almost as if saying, like, just go away. But it was like the mean girl way of being like, oh, just go kill yourself. Like whatever.
Yeah.
So with that terminology, with that being said, and with it being said that at the time, she was very young. I'm assuming she was still like a Victoria's Secret model and very into that cliquey champagne popping bottle culture, that it was cool to be like mean and to be part of that mean girl clique. And that she certainly could have changed being a wife and being a mother and having all of these new things that have happened in her life where she says, like, it wasn't okay for me to bully somebody like that. Like, that was not okay. Like, why shouldn't she be able to apologize and say, I'm not that person anymore, and I sincerely apologize for those things that I said, and have that apology accepted, which, according to my research, Stoddard has said she does accept her apology. Now, she says she didn't agree that Chrissy has reached out to her individually to apologize, which Chrissy said she did. But she said, look, I accept her apology.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say that. And it's Stodden, Chrissy Stodden.
Stodden?
I'm sorry, Courtney Stodden. God, we cannot get this name right. Courtney Stodden. Yeah. But yeah, I understand she did agree. And then, of course, Candace Owens had to chime in that, she's only apologizing because she's trying to save her wallet. How could she do that?
But it could be true.
It could. I'm sure it has something to do with it, but it also doesn't mean that she's not truly sorry.
That is very true. But I also know that I read some articles that reached back to things that Candace has said, where she's now kind of coming out as if she is this, I don't know, like this champion for, suicide prevention. And she has certainly made some mocking comments about people that have committed suicide, indicating that suicidal ideations are a sign of weakness. I think she said that regarding Meghan Markle, that if she really has thought about suicide, that maybe she's just looking for attention, or maybe she's just like, so she certainly has said some things too that really aren't nice. But now, because I think the opportunity has presented itself to go after somebody, and a lot of people think that she's going after Chrissy because she obviously is seen as, the liberal enemy, that she's very much on the other side of the spectrum of where Candace's views lie, that she's kind of just going after her because it's the thing that will get her some attention right now. And that's what she thrives on. Like, she needs to be relevant. She needs to be in the news. She needs to find people to talk shit about, which is why, Candace, you should come onto the Shit Talking podcast if you'd like to talk some shit. This is a platform for you.
Well,
we will have you.
If Candace comes on the show, I don't think we'll get a word in edgewise. I don't know if you've actually seen her talk. I mean, it's okay. Let her go. But it doesn't seem to me like Candace is the type of person that lets other people, have their opinion. Everyone is entitled to Candace's opinion. That's the impression that I get of her. But
I mean, Candace, the invitation is still open. You can come, you can express your opinion. We can all talk over each other, and it'll be a great time.
I think we should have Chrissy come on too. I mean, I think we could mediate.
I think that we would serve as excellent mediators for this. We could really bridge that gap and help them get to a place where maybe they can talk through these issues and come to some common ground.
Well, something else that really struck me about this whole debate is that Candace calls Chrissy a bully, but Candace is a huge Donald Trump supporter, and he's like the poster boy for bullies, isn't he? I mean, he's a bully. Can anybody say that Donald Trump is not a bully?
I think a lot of people would say he's not a bully. I would disagree with those people.
Okay, smart people.
but I mean, to me, it's the same irony of his wife doing this like anti-bullying be best thing. And I'm like, have you met your husband? Like he's literally like the opposite, like the direct contrast of what you're saying should not be done. But it's interesting that she is calling Chrissy a bully. I personally think that Candace herself is a bit of a bully. If you're the type of person that you're not going to let people get their opinions across, it has to be your way, the highway. And if you don't agree with me, then you're just an idiot. Yes. That does kind of make you a bully. But what I will say is, I also think that when you look at the things that Chrissy said, which in my view are awful, like that's an awful thing to say to someone.
Yeah.
People have said some pretty awful things to Chrissy as well. And I know that, at one point she got completely off of Twitter because of just the things people were saying, even, surrounding her miscarriage, like incredibly horrible, like just awful, mean things to say to somebody who's just lost a baby. Like saying she deserved it, saying that, like she hangs out with pedophiles, which is very interesting because one of the tweets or posts or something that Candace put up recently kind of, I don't know, hinted at like Chrissy being involved with sexual predators or pedophiles or something, maybe trying to redig or kind of, I don't know, reanimate these things that people were saying about her and like ties that she has to certain people. I
actually wonder if Chrissy has any sort of defamation action against Candace. Now we know that you can talk about things that are true, right?
Right.
So Chrissy really did say these things, but Candace has been going off on such a tangent for I don't even know how long now, a few weeks, that I really wonder if she hired an attorney to go and review everything that Candace has been saying. I wonder if there was something, some little thread that could rise to the level of defamation, because she has had damages as a result of this.
I mean, I do think though that, you would certainly have to comb through the comments and see exactly what has been said. But it's kind of what you started off with, Christina, which is she's admitted to the allegations that Candace has made. She has said, I did say those things. I did do those things. So, whether or not she would be able to come in and then now file a defamation suit, obviously the first defense would be, well, the truth of it. Yeah. I didn't say anything that's not true. But because, like you said, Candace has been on this tirade, that if you comb through everything, there certainly is a chance that she has said some things, especially if she's going to go in and say that she's like in bed with pedophiles, not literally, but figuratively in bed with pedophiles, and that she supports that type of lifestyle. I certainly think if that has had damage to her career, and there have been damages, that she would be able to file some action. But at the same time, I think that the damages are resulting from the things that she is admitting to having said. And she's a public figure, as she has pointed
she's
out.
a public figure.
So,
I don't know. I mean, certainly not an expert in that type of work. Ooh, maybe we should get somebody to come on, talk about
maybe
that.
Steve is an expert, as a civil litigator that he is.
Oh, Steve,
But,
do you know, do you have more information about defamation?
but
I don't know what Steve does for a living.
Well, Steve is the civil litigator to the Stars of New Jersey.
Who are the Stars?
I don't
Real
know.
Housewives?
I don't know. I don't know if he wants to talk to us about his clientele, but I do know that he is a wonderful litigator. So he would probably know better than you or I about whether or not she would have any grounds for this. But
I know there's a different standard when you're a public figure.
I mean, I do think that she's opened herself up, that, she puts herself out there. She, and I do think on some level, when you are a public figure, you put yourself out there to be abused a little bit, to a level.
Well, I wouldn't say abused, but you put yourself out there to get attention, and you have to accept that there's going to be people that love you, but there's going to be people that don't. And you can't just listen to the ones that are clapping. Well, not listen to them, but you can't just say, oh, well, I love all the people that love me, but the ones who call me out on my bullshit, I don't want to hear from them. They should not be allowed to speak. And I think if you want to be a public figure, you do have to develop a thick skin. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's really just the reality of the situation.
Well, I know that I definitely hear a lot of celebrities that say they don't even read comments. Because people say such nasty things to them. I'm trying to think of what it was. There was a campaign that came out recently where people had men read comments that were made to them. It was more about sexism and things like that. But comments saying I hope you die, I hope you get raped, I hope people just saying nasty things to people. So a lot of people don't even read it because of that, because it's just.
The thing is too, this is cancel culture is obviously only really become a thing because of the internet and social media. Back in the day before that, when we didn't have Instagram and Facebook and all of that, how did you spread rumors about people? It was just word of mouth, really, right?
Yeah.
And even if it was something in the paper, it would have to be a pretty big story to put it in the paper, right? You would need to be a big celebrity and it be something pretty juicy that if they're going to actually publish it. But now anybody can publish anything wherever they want. And it reaches millions of people.
I am so glad that I just didn't grow up with social media the way that it is right now. I look at things, just the ability, to bully, and the way that cyberbullying to me is so different than the bullying that we might have experienced. I feel like when I was in school, if there was a bully, right, you had the one bully and you had to deal with that one bully when you saw the bully at school. When you actually saw this bully.
Yes.
Now, granted, yes, the bully could still spread rumors about you, around school and say, this or that. But it's not the same as something being posted online and, thousands of people having access to this rumor about you or photograph of you or video of you. I know, my niece is about to be 14. And the one thing I always say to her is, never allow yourself to be photographed, never allow yourself to be videoed, because that can so easily be put online, and granted, she's very young, so I'm saying it in a very general and broad sense, and not in the sense I mean of please don't let yourself be filmed in sex tapes, which I know is going to come at some point later on down the line, not at 14, but I'm giving her this general advice now because she may, at 18, think it's okay to let some guy record them having sex, and who knows whose hands that tape will fall into, or the fact that we now have this ability through social media to post something like that, and it just is everywhere, and you don't know how many people have seen it or taken screenshots of it or whatever it is before you've taken action to take it down. we didn't live in that world where it was so easy to cyberbully.
Yeah. And when you get a resume from someone, if you're hiring in your office, do you look on Facebook? Do you try to find them?
I do.
Yeah, I
I
do too.
absolutely do. I absolutely, because this is the way that I look at it. And it's very funny because I remember having this conversation with a current employee where I was like, oh, girl, I was all over your Facebook page before we hired you. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah, like, I guess she was surprised by it. But to me, I'm kind of like, whatever you put out there for public consumption is for public consumption. So if I want to see, what you look like, because, at that point, we're setting up interviews by Zoom. This was during COVID, for example. So I want to see what you look like. I want to see how you present yourself. I want to see what kind of things you post. And the reality of the situation is, fair or unfair, I'm using that as a judgment as to whether you're going to fit in my office. Because if you're posting things where I'm kind of like, I can tell that where you stand in life is much different than the culture of the office that we're in. I mean, rightly or wrongly, I might use that as a reason to not hire you.
It
Because
depends
I know
what
you're
it
going to
is,
cause
though.
problems.
It depends what it is. I mean, if they're like wearing a Confederate, flag on a, handkerchief tied around their head with a rifle, yeah, I'm not hiring them. But
Right. I mean, but to me, if it's like pictures of you like out drinking, I don't really care about that. Like, that doesn't bother me. It's more along the lines of, what kind of things are you posting up? And I do believe it's funny. A friend of mine posted, I don't know if it was today that this post went up, but basically talking about, what I do on my off time. Like, you as my employer, you don't pay me enough, essentially, to regulate what I do on my off time. And on some level, I agree, and on some level, I disagree. Because to me, you being a member of my firm, you represent my brand. So if you're out there in the streets acting crazy, I have the right to disassociate you from my brand. To say that's not what I want.
do you have any requirements in your office of your staff about their social media presence? Because
The
we've
only
actually never addressed that. The only rule we have is that they can't be friends with clients.
Well, we do have a social media policy, just as far as what you can post about the firm. So, so for example, like, you can't go on and say, like, Ross and Callan Drillo is a horrible firm and they don't care about you, and you should just see the things that they say, when clients aren't listening. Like, you can't post that on your social media.
Is that enforceable, though?
Probably not. But the point is it enforceable that I can fire you? Certainly I can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So no, can I mandate that you take it down? Can I say that you don't have the right to say certain things? I don't think I can take away that right, but I can certainly make that a fireable offense because you've gone against the policy by bad mouthing the firm on social media or in public forums. So I think the enforceability really just goes to, can I fire you? But I do think, not that this goes into cancel culture per se, but I do think that the same way that a business has a right to disassociate from a celebrity that they don't agree with, I as an employer have the right to disassociate from an employee that is not representing my brand the way I want them to. So if I have an employee that's going out and, I don't know, going out and raping kids, yeah, they might be a great lawyer, but I can still fire you. Granted, that's criminal, so that's a whole other thing. But I can still fire you. Maybe I shouldn't be so extreme in my examples. Or if you're going to Klan rallies, for example, you certainly have the right to do that. And you have the right to your free speech, and you have the right to be a member of the Klan. You certainly do. I also have the right as your employer to say, I don't want somebody like that working for me.
Yeah, no, you do. So, and that somebody like that just doesn't fit in with your culture.
Well, your boss is black, so that's your first issue. Of like, how are you surviving in the Klan and your boss is black? Like, you should probably pick another place to work. And if you didn't know I was black before you applied, that means you just didn't do enough research. So I don't want you working for me anyway.
So let's do. I want to kind of give a definition that I found of cancel culture.
Okay.
Because we use it sort of generically, but according to Vox.com, The definition is the rise of cancel culture, and the idea of canceling someone coincides with a familiar pattern. A celebrity or other public figure does or says something offensive, and then there is a public backlash, often fueled by politically progressive social media. So what you actually are doing, you're canceling the person. It's like this idea that you can culturally block a prominent public figure from a platform or a career. So it's not even about canceling events. It's like just erasing a person.
Yes, but I also wonder on some level, and one of the reasons why there might be this backlash about cancel culture is I do think that businesses are businesses, right? So they're going to go with the ebbs and flows of what is culturally acceptable at the time. So, if you look at, for example, 40 years ago, what year are we in? Okay, yeah. Because in my head, 40 years ago was like, well, no, because 40 years ago in my head is like 1960, and it's not. So, I had to think, like, am I doing enough years? So even 40 years ago, right? If you look at 40 years ago, if someone that was in the public eye dropped the N-word, a celebrity, I don't know that at that point businesses and companies would have disassociated from that person. That would not have been enough to cancel endorsements. That would not have been enough to say, well, we no longer want this person to be our public figure, right? Because at that time, racism was a little bit more accepted than it is now. Although I might posture that it's still very accepted right now. But that's a whole other show that we're not going to get into. But it just wasn't as culturally unacceptable to be outwardly racist as it is right now. So a lot of people would say, well, these businesses really don't care about that issue, that social issue. They care about their pockets. And they care about the fact that people now, that culturally it is not acceptable. So they have to disassociate themselves for money reasons, not for moral reasons. And I think that's why some people just don't, like, it's not the company saying, well, we morally are opposed to what you're doing. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's
like, basically just saying, we don't want to lose money because of you.
Oopsie, our stock is going to go down. Well, isn't that basically what happened with Matt Lauer? I mean, allegedly, I don't know what's actually been confirmed, but he was doing shady shit for years.
Right.
And the NBC executives knew it. But once it became public, they had to fire him. And it was not because he was doing it and that they were so offended by that and needed to protect the rest of the staff from this predator. It was because, oh, well, now everybody knows and we're going to look like douchebags. That's why they fired him.
Right.
They were really worried about it. All the times that somebody reported him, they would have fired him.
Well, I know that when I was reading Catch and Kill, I keep wanting to call it To Catch and Kill, but I think that's because in my head it's like To Catch a Predator and To Kill a Mockingbird. Like I'm mixing up a lot of books, but or books and TV shows. But I don't want to ruin the book for those of you who haven't read it. But I do know that there are aspects in the book where they talk about how many times Matt Lauer was called out and reported, and how many of these women went and told somebody that this was happening. And they were just kind of like, nah. And then when it became this Me Too movement where they were like, oh shit, if this comes out, we're going to be in big trouble that we didn't do anything about this. And now we have to.
Well, I mean, that book is really interesting. If you guys are interested in this topic at all, I highly recommend that book because Ronan Farrow talks a lot about how NBC tried to kill that story numerous times for, I don't even know how long. I don't recall how long he was actually writing that. It had to be at least a year. I think it was longer than that. Yeah. And they just kept putting up all these obstacles because of Harvey Weinstein, because Harvey was so powerful in the community and they didn't want to ruffle his feathers. Right. And thank God, I'm so glad that story did come out, because what a disgusting person he was and is. And what's most astounding about it is how he was able to do that with the help of so many other people, or acquiescence of so many other people that helped him. And also brings to mind Jeffrey Epstein. I mean,
Yeah.
he also had people helping him be a predator. It's just
Like
amazing to me.
finding victims for him.
Yes, that's just incredible to me. And I don't think there's a great leap between Jeffrey Epstein and Matt Lauer.
No, I don't either. And I also think that people are intrinsically self-interested. So if they feel like this guy can help them, and that means they just have to be quiet, or if I'm going to be part of like your go-to team of people helping you find, victims, and that's going to give me the leg up in life that I need, I'll do it, which is also equally disgusting. But I think that that's human nature of, I can help myself here.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious, who are the actresses that actually did have sex with Harvey Weinstein willingly to get a role? Kind of curious. Because he's so ugly. Like, he is so hideous. Like, not attractive in the slightest.
But my question is, if you're having sex with someone, even if it's consensual, even if it's not like he forced himself on you, right? But you're having sex with someone because in your mind, that's the only way that you're going to have a livelihood. There still is a level of coercion there.
Yeah.
So yes, it was consensual. And yes, a woman may say like, okay, I'm going to have sex with Harvey Weinstein because I know he wants to have sex and I feel like I'd get a leg up in my career. But there still is, I think, the underlying current of there is still a level of coercion. Maybe it is not textbook rape where I'm forcing you and you're saying no. But I think that that's part of what people find so disgusting, is that use of power to get something that you want that you wouldn't otherwise get. Like this woman wouldn't otherwise sleep with you unless you were Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, you're right.
But then at the same time, can't we say that about a lot of people? Like, how many times, like, okay, let me just live in my moment of judginess for a minute. How many times have you gone out to like a fancy restaurant, right? And you see this drop dead, gorgeous bombshell of a woman with a old, hideous man.
Yeah.
But you see her and she might be very young, but she's like laced in all her designer labels and she's wearing her Louboutins and she has her fancy Chanel bag and she's like, oh, sweetie. And in your mind, you're like, you would not be fucking this old dinosaur of a man if he weren't rich and he weren't giving you money or giving you something that you want out of life, right? Like,
yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong. And I certainly think that there are some relationships where maybe you see some people that really don't look compatible. And maybe there is something else there, that there really is just a real and sincere relationship. But we've all seen these people out there where you're like, yeah, we all know why she's with him, right? So it happens.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't, and Steve thinks that I'm assuming that what you're referring to as coercion and rape is when a woman would have sex with Harvey Weinstein to get a role, but she did it voluntarily. Yeah, there's totally a power imbalance there. But at what point do you have to put some responsibility on the woman too? I mean, she's doing it knowingly that, okay, I don't think he's hot, but you know what? If I bang him, I'm going to get a role and I'm probably going to be a famous actress. So yes, there's a power imbalance, but unless he raped you, if you consensually had sex with him because you knew that there would be something in it for you, I don't know if you can. I'm not sure how I feel about those situations, because there does have to be some personal responsibility in those situations.
And some women would say that that's just women using what they got. Like if I'm saying, look, I know that, he has money and he has power and he has influence and he has the ability to get me roles or whatever it is, right? And I know that the power that I have is my sexuality and I'm going to use it. If I'm knowingly doing that, can I then turn around and say he raped me? Well, yeah, I'm knowingly using my sexuality to get what I want because I know he has something I want. I have something he wants, and I'm willing to trade off those things. Can I
Yeah.
then say that that is rape
I mean,
because there was an imbalance of power?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think just because there's an imbalance of power that it's automatically rape. Like, I don't think that's what makes something rape. Because
And
if it did, then these women you're talking about, where you see them and they're beautiful and they're with some old hag of a guy who's disgusting, like Melania and Trump, come on. And, that's not rape. They're, if let's do, we're talking about the ones that really are only with the guy because he has money.
yes, I
That's
think
not
that
rape. They're doing that, knowingly.
I think there's a difference between the woman who knowingly says, I am going to use sex to get what I want, and I know that that's what I'm doing, and I know that I otherwise wouldn't get this role if not for that. I think there's a difference between that woman and the woman that is put into the position of saying, if you want this role, lady, here's what you're going to need to do. And then she has to make that choice, even if she chooses to do it. I think there's a difference between being offered that of like, this is the only way you're going to get ahead is if, you do what needs to be done, versus a woman who goes in saying, I'm going to use my sexuality. I know that Harvey Weinstein is a pig, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to sleep with that pig. And I'm going to do what I need to do. Like, I feel like that's a little bit more of a conscious choice than someone being put into the position of you must use that.
That's what I'm talking about. And so, Steve, I just want to clarify. That's what I'm talking about. I know that Harvey Weinstein raped women and he pressured them.
Absolutely.
There were women he just flat out raped.
Yes.
There were other women he
literally screaming no, and he's having sex with them.
And maybe they didn't say no, maybe they did, but they felt forced into it. That's rape. Yeah. I'm talking about the ones that, like Robin just described, that were like, you know what? He's fucking disgusting, but I'm going to bang him because if I do, I know I'm going to get a role.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in a good movie that's going to be big. It's going to be a box office hit. And that's what I'm willing to do. That's who I'm talking about. That's not rape.
And that's the same as like the young hot chick with the old man you see in the restaurant. Like, some people would say that she's using him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but he's using her too.
But some people would say he's being taken advantage of. It's like, if this guy really believes, God bless his heart, that this beautiful hot chick is really in love with him and really loves him for him, and she has convinced him of that, a lot of people would say that she's taking advantage of the old guy. Like, what's her name? Like Anna Nicole Smith.
Yeah, I was just thinking about her.
Do you think that old man, I mean, in my mind, like, the guy's in a wheelchair, right? And she is wheeling him around with her triple D boobs and her like bottle blonde hair. And
cared. Do you think he really cared? He was about to kick the bucket like any minute.
I don't think he cared. I mean, I'm sure his family cared, but I think in his mind, he was like, I'm going to be alive for 3 more seconds. And if in those 3 more seconds, I can spend it with this hottie, whether it's because she wants my money or not, why do I care? I'm going to be dead anyway. If I die and she ends up with my money, at least like the last few years of my life were awesome. You know?
Well, you know what else comes to mind too is Madonna. She's 62. Mm-hmm. She looks great, but she's 62 and she's got a 25-year-old boyfriend. Now, would he be with her if she was not Madonna? I don't think so.
Well, let me take that 2 ways. I don't know. I don't know if it's just an issue of using Madonna because it's Madonna and she has money, or if it's because she's Madonna and every man has a fantasy about Madonna. Not every man, but like just being like, but you're Madonna. Like, I'm with Madonna.
Well, she's Madonna. You know, she's this icon. You know, even though she's older now, she still looks good. She takes care of herself. She's still relevant. And, you know, we all remember her when she was younger and like just this huge icon. And she really still is, I think. So I can see why they would be attracted to her. But if she was just, you know, if let's say she looked the way she looks, but she was your next door neighbor, is this 25-year-old really going to go and want to be with her?
I mean, some 25-year-olds might. There are definitely some young guys that are super into like the older woman Kruger thing. And she looks great.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say that the guy she's with right now, probably doesn't have a thing for 60-year-old women. He's got a thing for Madonna, but and I know that there are those guys that go out with that are young and they go out with older women, but I think they're a little more rare. So it's the same thing, it's a double standard because even J-Lo, who's 51 now, I think she went out with a dancer who was a lot younger.
I was about to bring up J-Lo. I feel like she's an exception because I don't think that there is a man alive from the age of 21 to like 70 that wouldn't say J-Lo is smoking hot, and if I had a chance with J-Lo, I would take it. Money or not, like she's just hot. She's just hot.
Yeah, she is.
Bounced a quarter off her ass. Did you see her? I didn't watch that stripper movie, but people watched the stripper movie and they were like, "Oh my freaking God! Like this woman's body is insane."
Yeah, she looks great. She does. But
so
she's 51. She's 51 and Madonna's 62. I'm sorry, but there's some window. There's something that happens in the window 50 and 60 that I don't know. It's like a 50-year-old, like I feel like 50-year-old women can be super hot. I think it's harder for a 60-year-old woman to be super hot. You're aging. You just are. I'm going to get killed for that, but
I hope that 50-year-old women can be super hot because I'm not that far from it. So hopefully I still have that time that I can still be like a super hot 50-year-old. But it's very funny. Steve says neither J-Lo nor Madonna, so he is very discerning.
Wow. Steve,
I don't know.
Who are you into?
I don't.
Who do you think is super hot?
But it has to be somebody super hot and like 50 or older. It can't be like super hot and like Scarlett Johansson. Like super hot, but a woman of a certain age. You know what I mean?
I think Jane Fonda looks amazing.
You are reading my freaking mind.
We are like this.
I know. Here. I was going to say Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda and my ultimate like icon of you could steal my man any day of the week, Angela Bassett.
Oh my God, amazing. I was just thinking about her. I swear, I was just thinking about her.
Looks freaking amazing. Like every picture I see of her, I go like, oh my God, this woman just doesn't age. Like she just does not age.
She looks amazing. She's so gorgeous.
Well, I feel.
Steve, are you still thinking about it? Are you still there? We're waiting for you to tell us.
You know what? You have time, Steve. I think that we've gotten slightly off topic.
Yeah, what happens. I think Scarlett Johansson's beautiful. Oh, he doesn't know names. Oh, yes, Angela Bassett, he agrees. Cher. Oh, that's
Cher.
I don't think Cher is like a natural beauty, but she sure looks good. She's in her 60s at least, and she really does look amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely in her 60s. There was somebody else that I was thinking of that I want to say is in their 60s too, but I can't remember. I don't know.
Cher is 75.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Okay.
She really does look great.
I have been given clearance to interrogate Steve at a later time about who he thinks is hot, but he did agree that Angela Bassett is dropped in.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So at least we've all come to terms with at least one person.
I'm going to just look up gorgeous women over 50 and just kind of see what pops up.
And see who pops up.
Yeah. Of course, I don't remember a lot of these names.
Well,
Jacqueline Smith. Yeah, she's
beautiful.
She was one of the original Charlie's Angels.
Ah, okay.
Kim Basinger. Michelle Pfeiffer looks really great.
Oh my God, why can't I think of her name? I can see her.
Cindy Crawford.
Brinkley.
Oh yeah. I don't really love her because I think she lies she claims that she's never had any sort of plastic surgery, and I just don't believe it.
Well, I don't see the point of lying about plastic surgery. Like if you've done stuff, just say you've done it.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't understand why it's a big deal. And as much as I am a fan of the Kardashians, I know I'm sorry. Some of you are like, you either love or hate them. So I'm sorry if you hate them, but I do like them. But the one thing that has always irked me is how they will not come clean about all the plastic surgery they've done. It's so obvious. It's like,
Right.
just stop lying about it.
Nobody's ass looks like that. That's not even natural.
No, stop. It's
Like, you're not going to have this tiny little waist and then this big ass. Like, that's not. Although I do know some people that have that naturally. I went to college with this girl, and her ass was humongous, and her waist was tiny. And I was like, how does that even happen?
I think it can happen. It's rare, but most of the people like that, they had some help, I think.
Like flat stomach, like super flat stomach, and like ass like pow. And I was like, how does that happen? But I feel like it is few and far between.
I knew a Hispanic woman like that. Like, she had a really big butt and a tiny waist. And this was like, I was in my 20s. So, I mean, I know those butt lifts existed back then. I don't think she had one, though. I think that was just her body. And she looked amazing.
That was kind of my thought, too, because at the time when I was in college, this girl was like 19. Like, I just don't think that, like, she went out, and she had like super strict Muslim parents. So I don't think that she went out and got a butt.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like,
you know who else? Jane Seymour. She's so beautiful.
Yes.
I've always thought that she was so gorgeous.
Yes, I definitely see that one. So I don't know. I mean, I guess not basing or Pfeiffer. I'm looking at Steve's comments.
What about Diane Lane? You know, a lot of people really go for her. I think she's cute. I wouldn't say like I think she's the most gorgeous person in the world, but she's aging really well. Like, she
was she the one in
good.
Unfaithful?
I think so. Yes.
I think it was after that because it was a very sexy role when people were like, "Ooh,
Lane." The guys love her. And oh God, somebody else just came to mind. I think Sharon Stone still looks amazing.
I think she does too. I think she does too. But there are a lot of those people that I think probably just take really good care of themselves.
Yeah, and I think they always have taken care of themselves. It's not like you didn't go through like your whole life being a train wreck and then at 60 you got fit. Not that you can't. So if you're one of those people, keep trying. Right. But I don't think that's how it usually happens. No, Stone, he does not. Stone.
I think with that said, once again, I feel like we have solved all of the world's problems, which is you can still be hot after 50. That cancel culture, that there are certainly lines to be drawn and statutes of limitations, but we don't know what they are. And maybe we're just all being a little bit too judgy.
Maybe Candace is being a little too judgy. I'm just saying.
I just don't like Candace. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't like her. I'm not a fan. But Candace, come on the show, please.
Yeah, I just feel like I think I was telling Russ one day, like, because Candace is married, and I was like, does she ever stop talking? Like, when she's at home, like, I feel like my head would start to hurt after a while.
I think, and this is just my opinion about her, I think that she is a fictitious persona. I think real Candace is nothing like the Candace we see. I think she knows that that's what makes money, and she turns it on.
Yeah, I think.
Or at least maybe I'm hoping so.
Hoping so. I mean, she's a very intelligent woman.
Which is why I feel that way even more. That I go, you can't be that smart and say such stupid shit. So you have to, like, this has to be a shtick, you know?
Yeah. And Steve, I just want to say, we don't need to tolerate your comments. They're great.
We love
your comments. But Steve, I do want you to come back next week with a list of who you think is super hot. You have a week to think about it.
You have some research to do.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we should do next week is, you know, who's hot. Do you remember there used to be some website called Hot or Not?
Yeah.
Where you would rate like who was hot. And
I would want to do that, but I feel like to have a not list would be mean. I'm not going to put anybody on a not list.
No, I think we should just talk about like who do we think are, you know, like the most stunning people like that just seem to have, they hit the gene lottery. You know, like who are they? I kind of be curious.
Than Christina Previtt?
Other than Robin Ross. I mean, come on.
Then okay, fine.
Well, okay. All right. Well, thank you for watching. And next time, be prepared with who you think is hot. And this could be men or women. We should go over the men too.
We definitely should go over the men.
But should it be Meghan Markle is beautiful too? Yeah, she really is.
Yeah, I agree.
Somebody said she had a nose job, but I don't know. I can't tell.
I don't have to look back at like old pictures.
I can't always tell. If she had a nose job, it was a really good one and it was very subtle because it is hard to tell.
Oh.
But so that's what we're going to do next week. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your week. And we will see you right back here next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Toodles.
Bye.